for the people. This is L. Nathan Hare. Welcome you to our broadcast, focused on providing you insight into events shaping our national and regional world and examining the facts behind those events and policies that are shaping our world for today and for tomorrow. Join us weekly on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. following Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! Program. And of course, you know our program is live, so you can call and you can join our discussion. We really hope that you will. Our number here again is 878-5104. That's 716-878-5104. I'm always comforted, Willie, when I hear Jim Braun's voice, introducing the program. It's just, I'm so accustomed to hearing his voice.
Sometimes I forget to put it on, but I'm like, oh yeah, let's put Jim on.
Let's
get his voice in there.
It just works for me.
Yeah.
And a shout out to his sister, Kaki. Hope everything is going well.
Yeah.
For you. Hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah. Call us, Kaki. I want to be involved.
And for those that don't know, our producer passed away a few weeks ago, and we're still memorializing him. And it may be a long time before we stop memorializing him.
Oh yeah.
We're just, that's just where we are.
Yeah.
But we wanted to take today's program. Well, I didn't introduce Willie H., who is the engineer. He does the live streaming of the program. He's our 21st century person who really understands the technology of the 21st century. Welcome, Willie, to the program.
Well, welcome, everybody, to Living for the People with L. Nathan here. I'm excited, y'all, because I'm going to be getting some new equipment soon.
Yeah, he's been pumped up.
I'm excited. Call us, though, 716-878-5104. I want to get you into the conversation.
There you go. We need to hear from you.
Yeah.
So I want to take today's program and two principal topics I want to talk about. First is before we get into the fourth indictment of the fourth indictment this year. This year of the former president of the United States, Donald Trump.
Yeah, before you start, I got a call from Norm, I think yesterday, and Norm was excited. He said, well, I think they're going to get him. I think they're going to get Trump. I don't know. Maybe somebody was talking to him. He's in the Virgin Islands, maybe not the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas. He's in St. Thomas on vacation. Living
in the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean.
Yeah, right.
And he was like all psyched. Well, I think they're coming for Trump. They're going to get him this time, so. We'll see.
Well, we will see. So before we get into all of the detail on that, I wanted to, first, I want to make sure you all remember that there's that steps to recovery, or to recovering from cancer and other illnesses. A conference, or a conference is going to be held on a week from Thursday on August the 24th. At the Frankie Merriweather Library at the intersection of East Utica and Jefferson Avenue. That'll be from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The host of this discussion, or this forum, is Maurice Howard, who is a PhD psychologist, and he himself contracted cancer, and he actually died 3 different times.
Wow.
Now, when I say died, I don't know all of what is meant by when they say die. His heart stopped. His body went still. And then they had to do whatever they do with you with those machines they put on your chest that pump electricity into you and stuff. They did some of that and they revived him. But he literally died on the bed 3 different times over the course of the past 2 years. But he's recovered. He's in remission. A man who virtually died 3 times from cancer, recovered, and is in remission right now. And so he wants to talk to people about how serious this cancer epidemic is in our country. I mean, we talk about the COVID-19 stuff and the that respiratory VP virus, whatever that's supposed to mean. And we got all of that stuff going on. They're all important things. But cancer has not gone away. Cancer has just morphed into being different kinds of cancers.
Right.
But it has not gone away.
And it's probably in our food. Part of it's probably in our food.
We're eating cancer. We're breathing cancer. We're walking in cancer.
Maybe even our our habits with some of the things that we do. Probably
Right.
not healthy. Who
Right.
knows? The phone that we might be using might have something. You never know.
It could be. You know, we can't know, but what we do know is we have medical professionals that exist throughout our society. You have to be connected with one of those medical professionals who's in a network so that somebody is keeping tabs on your health. And when something looks like it's a little screwy, that they're getting a specialist in there to look at it.
Right.
And if there's something that needs to be corrected, that it gets corrected as soon as possible.
Right.
So it doesn't metastasize into something that you can't recover from.
Mr. Hare, you're right on point too, because I just had a checkup last week and the nurse was really getting on my case like, Willie, come on, man. I just had a significant other like you, same age as you, like you, that died because they wasn't up on their medical stuff. They wasn't taking their medicine. They was going there. They noticed. She said, I don't want that to happen to you.
Right.
Take your medicine. Do the stuff that's right. Join the program. Whatever you have to do, do it.
So these are people that are going to be trying to give you information to help you to defend your own life.
Right.
So you want to be there. This is at the Frankie Merriweather Library. It's on August the 24th. That's a week from Thursday, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. You should register, and that number, write this down, is 716-603-5979. That's 716-603-5979. They want to get as much information about who's coming as possible so they prepare.
Right.
They're going to be providing a lot of material.
What day, once again, what day is that?
And the day is going to be Thursday, August the 24th. Right.
What time?
From 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Okay. All right. I got to take my son to the airport at 4, so I could probably still
make it over there. Yep. Because they don't let you hang around the Buffalo airport too long and whatnot. They skedaddle, go away. Right.
Yeah.
So I went to an article written by Stephen Collison. He was writing for CNN, talking about this new twist in Hunter Biden's case is a huge political headache for his father. As you all may be aware, although you may have lost consciousness about it since we've had the great big fourth indictment of Donald Trump in the last couple of days, but Hunter Biden's case that was supposed to have been set to be resolved by a plea deal, what do they call it, a plea agreement? Or a plea bargain, that's what they refer to it as, a plea bargain between Hunter Biden and the federal prosecutors, led by David Weiss, who was the lead prosecutor on Hunter Biden's case. That should have settled the issues on supposed tax evasion, whatever the issues were that they had in front of him. Those things are supposed to be settled by that deal. But the plea deal fell apart. And now David Weiss, who was appointed by Donald Trump to be the investigator on this Hunter Biden case, that same investigator has been appointed by Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General for the country. He's appointed David Weiss to be a special prosecutor on the Hunter Biden case. My problem with this is you've been investigating this case for 5 years. Why are you just now appointing if it was so important, why didn't you put a special counsel together 5 years ago?
Right.
So we could have had this case all investigated 4 years ago. And if there was something that needed to be done, if it was a plea deal or a trial, you would have done this by now.
Right.
Why are you just now, doing this? I don't have answers for that question. Okay. My suspicion is that you have people, they keep talking about these deep state people. The deep state people are the people that work in the civil service administrations of the various executive offices and, and not just the executive offices, but all the branches of our government, the people that work in those branches of government that are the civil service workers. They get there because they took a test and they got on the list and then they got chosen off the list and this became their career. You got people there who are Trump supporters, just like you got people there that are Joe Biden supporters. And I believe that you have some people that are working in the judicial branch that were really trying to put the thumb on the scale against Joe Biden by keeping this issue alive with Hunter Biden. That's my suspicion.
Right.
Because the facts just don't make sense. If you've been investigating this case for 5 years and all the powers that you get as a special counsel, you were given all of those powers anyway. Joe Biden, when he became president, he didn't fire David Weiss, which would have happened if Donald Trump was president, and there was a Democrat who was in trouble, or excuse me, if there was a Democrat who had been running an investigation against a Republican, Donald Trump would have fired that Democrat immediately, as he did when he became president in 2017.
Absolutely.
He fired everybody who even looked like a Democrat. You know, you look kind of like a Democrat. Get out.
You smell like a Democrat.
You got to go, right?
Let me get rid of you.
So, you know, that's what the Republicans typically do.
Right.
But what Joe Biden did is to make sure that nobody could claim that he launched an investigation and put his thumb on the scale using the executive authority of the presidency to weight the investigation the way that he wanted it to go. He kept the same Republican appointed prosecutor in place when Joe Biden became president. Now, over the past 2.5 years, David Weiss has been the lead prosecutor on this case. You can't tell me that in 2.5 years, you didn't already know what it was you needed to investigate and have gotten all your emails and, you know, whatever evidences that you get, that you haven't gotten that stuff already in your hands. They're just trying to keep this investigation going,
right,
so they can keep putting in front of the people, Joe Biden, criminal investigation.
For some it's working for some, because, you know, I hear people talking about Biden more than I hear people talking about Trump, and so it's working.
They say, you know, all those politicians are terrible people.
That's what it comes down to.
They're all taking money under the table.
Right.
You know, they're all taking bribes and.
But what seemed to be the thing is that it's okay for Trump. Almost like people think, we know he's corrupt. We already know that.
Right.
But Biden, he's the president. He can't be that way, and blah, blah, blah.
See,
and it's almost like Trump get away with it.
It's so pressing the way that you said that, Will, because essentially what you're saying is that for the Republicans, we already expect that they're corrupt.
Right.
So it's news when a Democrat evidences some idea of being corrupt. So Donald Trump's son, during the time period, mostly when Joe Biden was no longer the vice president of the country, this is that 4-year period in between. During that period, Hunter Biden was using his father's name, his brand, to be able to win contracts, you know, through his company, to whatever it is that he does as a venture capitalist.
And, you know, Mr. Hare, that makes sense. You've got somebody in your family that's well known. You're going to use.
They didn't object to Ivanka Trump using her father's name.
See?
You know, she made almost $100 million over the course of Trump's administration, renting her father's name and so on. So why is that not a problem? But Hunter Biden is a problem. But even if it was corrupt, the point is that you treat the Democrat as if it's news if you find something that looks corrupt with them, but you treat corruption with the Republicans as, well, we know they're corrupt. You know, that's the way they are.
Business as usual.
Right? So they create this both and, you know, kind of a scenario that the Republicans are the same level of corruption as the Democrats, and Democrats are the same level of of corruption as the.
And here's the poison venom. The poison venom is that they all corrupt. So most of the Democratic people, they all corrupt. I'm not going to vote. There's no need. But believe me, the Republicans, those people coming out to vote,
right? Because remember,
every time.
What the Republicans are putting forward is, yeah, we're all corrupt, but we're the ones who are going to defend you from those transsexuals.
Right.
We're the ones who are going to defend you from, you know, those pedophile Democrats in the pizza parlor, you know, in Georgetown that are, you know, eating kids.
Right.
That sort of stuff, right? The insane stuff. Those people are going to come out to vote and vote 13 or 14 times. You know, most of the incidences that they found people manipulating or cheating, in the voting process, it turned out to be Republicans doing it.
Yep.
So the people that do the things are the ones that are accusing the Democrats of
Right.
doing things.
Yep.
And then they create laws against things that they claim the Democrat-oriented voters would do that they have not done, and keep licensing the Republicans to keep doing the things that they claim they're passing laws to stop. It's just this nonsense that goes on. So I just wanted to get into this situation that I think Cullison published this article this article on Tuesday of last week. He said just weeks ago, the shadow of criminal suspicion over Hunter Biden seemed about to lift, but the appointment of David Weiss, the prosecutor who had been investigating Joe Biden's son, appointing him to special counsel status, grants him extra powers to broaden his inquiries. So now they can stretch out and say, well, there was something over there in the shadow that we couldn't see. It was about 46 feet from here, but we can see the shadow now. Let's go over and investigate that. It has nothing to do with what we're investigating right now, but let's just broaden our investigation to cover that. Now, what I'm talking about, what I'm implying, when Bill Clinton was being investigated for his wife's investment in a real estate deal called Whitewater? The investigation was supposed to be about that, but the what was his name? Kenneth Starr. He broadened the investigation because he heard some rumors that Bill Clinton was dancing, the follies with Monica Lewinsky. Now, him dancing with Monica Lewinsky had nothing to do with the real estate transaction or the investment that Hillary Clinton made that went from, I think, a $10,000 investment that turned into a $100,000, a return on investment. See, they felt that was something to be investigated. That was corrupt. I guess it's illegal for a Democrat to have an investment blow up and grow in value, a 100-fold or 1,000-fold. That's illegal for a Democrat. Right. If a Republican did that, he's a good business person or she's a good business person. Right. So, but the point I'm making is giving special counsel or prosecutor status to a prosecutor allows that prosecutor to expand their investigation to things that were not originally the things being investigated. They could look for things, to be honest with you, they could look for things to investigate.
And make accusations.
And well, at least make the inference. Well, we're looking into this thing over here. Well, we're looking into this thing over here. But when it hits the newspapers, it's, a special prosecutor is looking into this thing over here and this thing over there, giving the impression that there's something to actually look at that has some substance. Then you don't hear about it, for 7 or 8 months in terms of what the outcome is of that part of the investigation.
But meanwhile, people are talking about it.
Been talking about it. Then it turns out that there was nothing came out of the inquiry, but you got all of these people's in their minds, right? Because remember what we say as a ongoing proverb, that you become what you hear. Right. If you keep hearing something over and over and over and over again, and you don't hear anything to balance that against something else, you actually become, it becomes normalized in your mind that what's being said is it's not true. It's still normal.
Absolutely. If somebody, if a girl say, "Oh, Willie raped this other girl," I may not even raped or even saw the other girl, but now all the females that I know will be careful. Like, oh,
yeah, Willie's a rapist.
Oh, we gotta be careful. So whether you're innocent or not, it doesn't matter. It's now the way they react to you is going to be differently. And
what's so insidious about this is if you had already been accused, they're credibly accused, and there's investigations, four different indictments about you raping people,
Right.
were already underway.
Right.
This has been going on for 7 years, right? You're used to it. Then you hear about a potential investigation into Willie, right now.
Right.
Right. And so you treat a 7-year investigation into somebody about 4 different sets of rapes.
Right.
You treat that as something that it's normal. You've heard this before. And then you say, oh my God, Willie was involved in, a potential rape.
Right.
And that becomes what you hear.
Right.
And so you'll end up with people saying, well, I voted for the career rapist because I knew who he was.
Wow.
I knew what I was getting. I voted against Willie. I didn't know whether he actually did it or not, but, there was some soil on him, and, I didn't have any, I just trusted the crook because I knew the crook.
Right.
That's what they're saying about Donald Trump. I know this crook.
Which is crazy, but you got it.
And remember, Donald Trump, in addition to being a crook, he's also promising you that I'm going to oppress these people with the LGBTQ plus people, right? Just because you are that, I'm going to oppress you. I'm going to deny you. I'm going to take away your rights.
They just came out of that. Wow. Back into that.
Exactly, right? You got stuff in your history books that talk about negative things that people have done to Chinese people. They had the Chinese, what do they call it? I always forget the name of this act, the Exclusion Act or something like that. But they were saying that Chinese people couldn't immigrate into the United States at all, right?
Wow.
I don't know if you know that, right?
I didn't know that.
This is a law passed in the early 20th century.
Didn't know that.
That made it, here's a call I think coming in. This is a law passed in the early 20th century that said that just being Chinese made you unable to emigrate to the United States. People come from all over the world emigrating into the United States. You just not be a crook and you can emigrate to the United States. But all of a sudden, just because you were Chinese, you wasn't able to do that.
Right.
It's that kind of oppressive behavior that the United States is engaged in. But I think we have a caller. Hang on. Let me grab that caller real quick. Hi, caller. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Good to hear from you.
How are you? I just want to make a comment on something that's been kind of bothering me. It's a little, it's about the election, but it's not something I believe you've covered before. But it's kind of bothering me, and it's this whole thing with Cornel West and going for this third party candidate. And I like a lot of the things he says. But I don't think in this climate we can't afford to have someone splitting the Democratic vote. And
right on time.
Any of these Republicans again, and whether Donald Trump.
I don't care how cool a guy. Right. I don't care how cool a guy we think Cornel West is. You mean like his hair, you may like his hand movements, and all of that. You can love all of that stuff. Right. But ask yourself this question. If 2% of the vote went to Cornel West and Biden lost by 1% of the vote next year, how would you feel if you ended up with this fourth time indicted, 2 times impeached, corrupt beyond belief former president of the United States having this guy become the president again? How would you feel if that's what occurred? So we have to help people to stop saying things and allowing their minds to be soaked into things that are antithetical to your own existence. You're not going to succeed in keeping this country away from people like Donald Trump and the various people that are behind Donald Trump. I don't know how much I can do to get this into people's spirit. It's not just about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just the tip of the spear.
Right.
You hire tips of spears. I'm not worried about the people who were hired because I can see them. It's the people who weren't hired, the people who are behind the scenes, the ones that are the commissioners of election in your county elections offices, the people that are the conservative, this is our country folks that make up a lot of the apparatus of our civil service in this country. The people who are the reason why Black women are 41% more likely to die from cancer because they don't get the same kind of right. They don't get the same kind of testing and then the actual care that you should get as a result of that testing, because that's the racism that's built into this system and whatnot. You can't defeat that, by hiring people who are the racists, to hiring people that are the oppressors, to hiring people that are more oriented towards profit and creating venues for profit than they are oriented towards creating space for women to work, because you have childcare accessible at an affordable price and geographically accessible for people around the country. I mean, there's so many things that we have to be fighting for, and to get into these esoteric, well, I'm going to go with the third party because I don't like any of them. No, if you elect Donald Trump, you like Donald Trump, and you're going to get what you say you liked.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct.
Thank you, man. That's great comments. Thank you. All right. God bless. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Okay. And so just weeks ago, the shadow of criminal suspicion over Hunter Biden seemed to lift until this appointment by Merrick Garland of David Weiss to be the special counsel. The change of status followed the collapse of a deal last month that likely would have seen Hunter Biden get sentenced to probation after pleading guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges. The deal would also have included an arrangement that would have resolved a felony gun charge. Weiss said in a court filing on Friday that negotiations to restructure the deal, which a judge had worried was unconstitutional, have now reached an impasse and that a trial was likely. I want to read to you what the actual settlement agreement was supposed to have been and what seems to have broken this stuff down. A judge rejected the combination plea deal and pretrial diversion program that the two sides arranged over concerns that it offered too much immunity to Hunter Biden. That's what broke this deal. The judge felt that the deal that was brokered by the prosecutors, the federal prosecutors in the Hunter Biden case, didn't offer or offer too much immunity to Hunter Biden. So the judge wanted to keep some areas of investigation open. Hunter Biden's attorney said that the government decided to renege on the previously agreed upon plea agreement. We've been told that it was Hunter Biden that reneged on the deal, but that's not the case. It was the prosecutor, David Weiss, David Weiss and the judge who reneged on the deal. They also said the president's son, through counsel, accepted the prosecutor's invitation to engage in settlement discussions with the defendant, and counsel understood would fully resolve the government's sprawling 5-year investigation. So this thing was virtually done. But Attorney General Merrick Garland on Friday named David Weiss as the special prosecutor. My point here is that the deal that should have ended the Hunter Biden case was unwound because the judge in the case said, well, I'm not sure I like this part of the immunity deal. I want to keep that thing open. Mm-hmm. I think that this is one of those Trump-appointed judges. They didn't tell us that, but I think that this is one of those Trump-appointed judges putting their thumb on the scale of justice. That's what goes on. That's what Trump does. They keep talking about weaponizing government. It's been the Trump administration and the Republicans that have been weaponizing government. They weaponized government in both of those impeachment trials because you kept being told by the press that these were actual trials that were going on. But that's not really what was going on. This was the Democrats putting forth evidence that corruption had taken place, and the Republicans waiting until they got done, presenting their evidence, because they were going to vote against it no matter what. The people that are listening, you're talking about the senators are the people that have to vote, and you have to get 2/3 of the senators to vote with you. So in each of these impeachment inquiries, you had 55 to 57 of the 100 senators voted to impeach and to convict Donald Trump, but you needed to have 67 to convict. So it comes across and is reported in the press as if Trump was acquitted, when although he was acquitted, he wasn't acquitted the way that you think about a trial, where you got a unanimous opinion. That's not what occurred in these cases. The majority of people who could vote did vote for conviction. They just didn't have a 2/3 majority to get that done.
Gotcha.
So I know we're at the end of our half hour. Why don't we take a break and we'll get into the next section of our discussion. Don't go away. We will see you on the other side of the break here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY.
To protect his home and family from disaster, Steve used courage, wisdom, and his camera phone.
That should do it.
Way to go, Steve! By simply taking digital pictures of his family's important documents, Steve can always have them stored safely online, no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
91.3 FM WBNY is proud to present Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman.
Welcome to Democracy Now!
Award-winning investigative journalism.
Is the NRA imploding?
Providing relevant analysis that makes you think.
Secret State Department documents, including evidence of U.S. war crimes.
Fact-finding reports you will not hear elsewhere. Democracy Now! Airs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on 91.3 FM, WBNY, Buffalo. Ready for radio that's challenging, innovative, and encouraging? Tune in, Living for the People.
This is L. Nathan Hare. Join me right here, 91.3 FM WBNY. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. after Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! We'll provide objective analysis regarding current issues. Call 878-5104. It's Living for the People on 91.3 FM WBNY. All right, welcome back to Living for the People. This is L. Nathan here, your host. We're here with Willie H., who does the live streaming of the program. Welcome back, Willie.
Welcome, everybody, to Living for the People with L. Nathan here.
So on this section of the program, I want to talk about the facts. The facts are starting to come out. I went to an article written by Zachary Cohen and Sarah Murray talking about Georgia prosecutors have messages showing Trump's team is behind the voting system breach. Now, I don't know how many of us were cognizant about this. We had voting machines in Georgia, not the only place, this happened in a couple of other states as well, where the Republicans, claiming that they were trying to determine whether or not there was corruption in the voting process, they said they weren't satisfied with the hand counts. They had 3 hand counts. They weren't satisfied with the 5 machine counts. They weren't satisfied with all of the investigations that were then taken as lawsuits to various state courts. Of 61 of these lawsuits, 60 went against the Trump administration. The one that didn't was about a procedural issue. It was not about the substance of the case. None of that made any difference. They wanted the actual voting machines to be put into their hands so they could go and they could do a forensic analysis of the voting machine to see if it was possible for the machine to flip votes from Donald Trump to Joe Biden.
Wow.
Now, my understanding is it's illegal for you to have these machines. These machines have to be literally sacrosanct so that you can ensure that nobody has tampered with the machines. If you allow some technician, some forensic technician who understands these machines to have access to the machine. They could manipulate the machine to make it do whatever they want it to do. How could you trust whatever came out of that machine in the future once you've had somebody who has those skills able to tamper with it?
Yeah.
So this is a part of the problem. You had records that were shared that were not authorized to be shared. You had machines, actual voting machines, put into the hands of agents of these Republicans for them to be able to do these so-called forensic analyses and so on. So Atlanta area prosecutors, according to this report by Zachary Murray and Cohen and Sarah Murray, Atlanta area prosecutors are in possession of text messages and emails directly connecting members of Donald Trump's legal team to the early January 2021 voting system breach in Coffee County. This is the county who the machines were actually tampered with. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis is expected to seek charges and now has brought down charges. She's indicted 19 people. Donald Trump plus 18 other people have been indicted in cases involved in the voting systems breach. Let's see here, because I wrote this just before the indictments came down, so there's some a few little conflicts here. But investigators in the Georgia criminal probe had long suspected the breach was not an organic effort that sprung from sympathetic Trump supporters. In other words, it wasn't like there were just people in Coffee County that were citizens who said, there's something wrong. I don't know what's going on here, but something's not right. And they were the ones that were the source of trying to pull apart, the voting process in Coffee County. This is a rural and heavily Republican county, a county that Trump won by 70% of the vote. You would think if Trump won the county by 70% of the vote, he wouldn't be looking for corruption in that county. You'd think he'd go to a county where Trump lost by 70% of the vote and try to find corruption in that county. But because you probably had Republican-friendly election administrators in Coffee County, you knew that if you went to them and say, listen, we are Republicans. We need to get a chance to look at, these votes and look at this machine. Votes, And so they were willing to do it because they were, what they say, brothers and sisters of the same lodge, right? And so that's what we see going on here. They have gathered evidence indicating that, in fact, it was a top-down push by Trump's team to access sensitive voting software. While Trump's January 21 call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, an effort to put forward fake slates of electors, have long been considered pillars of Willis's criminal probe, the voting system breach is another aspect of what went on in Coffee County, and it's now emerged as an area of focus. New evidence has slowly been uncovered that the role of Trump's attorneys, the operatives they hired, and how the breach, as well as others like it in other key states, factored into broader plans for overturning the election. Remember what this is all about. All these little incidences, breaking into voting machines, doing new hand counts, having some fake ninja warriors, doing forensic analyses, in your elections, in particular counties or election offices. All that stuff it seems like there's just so many pieces to the story, but the real story is just one story. The one story is Donald Trump lost the November 3rd, 2020 election, and he is not willing to accept that loss. He's trying to overturn the November 3rd, 2020 election. All these people that were engaged in these activities were doing this as a part of steps to help Donald Trump overturn the 2020 presidential election. That's what you have to keep in mind. So together, the text messages and other court documents show that Trump lawyers and a group of hired operatives sought to access Coffee County's voting systems in the days before the January 6th 2021 insurrection. It says that plans to access, Trump officials testified under oath that plans to access voting systems in Georgia were discussed in meetings at the White House, including during an Oval Office meeting, an office in the White House with Donald Trump on December 18, 2020. That means Trump was a part of the meetings in which these plans were discussed, where the people were being authorized to engage in activities to overturn the election. So Donald Trump is the head of the spear of that conspiracy. And they have the witnesses that there are people that have turned state's evidence that witness that Trump was a part of these meetings. The local elections officials who allegedly helped facilitate the breach sent a written invitation. Did you hear this again? The local election officials, meaning Republican election officials, who allegedly helped facilitate the breach, i.e. giving people access to the voting machines and records in Coffee County, they sent, these elected officials sent a written invitation to attorneys working for Trump, according to text messages obtained by CNN. One of these people, Misty Hampton, a former Coffee County elections official, she authorized the letter of invitation referenced in text messages and other documents that have been turned over to prosecutors. And Misty Hampton is one of the co-conspirators that Fannie Lewis has indicted yesterday. They have also examined the involvement of Trump's, at that time, attorney Rudy Giuliani and fellow Trump lawyer Sidney Powell as part of their probe. I always laugh when we do Sidney Powell because she seemed like such a comical, like a cartoon, figure. How she got to be somebody at the helm with somebody as high in profile as a former president of the United States is just beyond me. How did she get there? It just shows you, that this was a claptrap kind of an operation, that was going on. But they also have examined involvement of Trump's then attorney Rudy Giuliani. The letter of invitation was shared with attorneys and an investigator working with Giuliani at the time, according to these messages that CNN has gotten access to. Catherine Fries, she's an attorney working with Giuliani and with Sidney Powell and other Trump allies, shared a written invitation to examine voting systems in Coffee County with a group of Trump allies. So I want you to understand what this means. Trump's people wanted to have this proving done that votes in Coffee County could be manipulated by through the Dominion voting machines that were used for this election. Mm-hmm. To make this forensic investigation legitimate, they actually issued an invitation from these local election officials in Coffee County to Republican operatives, lawyers working on behalf of Donald Trump. They issued a letter of invitation to them so that nobody could say that the investigators broke into the system. They were invited into the system. So the group included members of Sullivan Strickler, which is a firm hired by Trump's attorneys to examine voting systems in this small, heavily Republican county. The same day that Freeze sent a letter of invitation to Coffee County, or that same day, Freeze sent a letter of invitation to Coffee County, Georgia, to former New York Police Department police commissioner Bernie Kerik. Why would a former police commissioner of New York City be involved in a forensic analysis of voting machines in Coffee County in Georgia? Who appointed and made Bernie Kerik somebody who was even the person that could do that kind of an analysis at all? Freeze then notified operatives who carried out the Coffee County breach and others working directly with Giuliani that that teams with Giuliani that teams had secured written permission according to the text. So once they got this written permission from these election officials in Coffee County, then these lawyers and their technicians moved in and took possession of some of these voting machines to do whatever it is they claim they were doing. The messages and documents appear to link Giuliani to the Coffee County breach and the battleground state operatives who worked together to provide unauthorized individuals access to sensitive voting equipment. Now, according to Robert Costello, Giuliani's attorneys, he says, Rudy Giuliani had nothing to do with this. You can't attach Rudy Giuliani or Sidney or to Sidney Powell and her crackpot ideas. He says, I just landed back in D.C. with the mayor. They always call Giuliani the mayor. A huge thing starting to come together. He says, this is an employee from the firm Sullivan Strickler, which was hired by Sidney Powell to examine voting systems in Coffee County. Former Mayor Rudy Giuliani has consistently, let me bother on that. Giuliani said most immediately, this was Giuliani's response to the invitation. He says, most immediately, we were granted access by written invitation to Coffee County systems. Yay! Now, they're the ones who pressed these Republicans to give them the invitation. Then these Republicans, this is the problem when you elect people who are themselves corrupt. They hire people or they post people in administrations who administer the elections who are corruptible. Not for everything. They're corruptible on party loyalty type stuff.
Right.
And that's who Donald Trump's people went to. That's why they went to that county, because they knew that the people in that county were folks that would go along with this. So breaking into Coffee County shortly after Election Day, Misty Hampton, still serving as the top election official for Coffee County, she warned during a state election board meeting, she says, Dominion voting machines could very easily be manipulated to flip votes. And she says, this is a claim now that has been repeatedly debunked, over the course of the last several years. But the Trump campaign officials took notice and reached out to Hampton the same day, said, I would like to obtain as much information as possible. This is a Trump campaign staffer emailed Hampton at the time, according to documents released to the public records. In early December, Hampton then delayed certification of Joe Biden's win in Georgia. You see what I mean? So based on this supposed investigation, Misty Hampton then delays the certification of the vote in Coffee County. If that vote is delayed, then the certification of the votes at the state level for Georgia as a whole are going to be delayed. And their goal was to delay the January 6th joint session of Congress, where Congress certifies the Electoral College votes from each state.
Okay.
They were trying to delay that because the longer they could delay that, the more opportunity there was for Trump to find some other rationale for why he should stay president, and Joe Biden was not the legitimate elected new president. So Hampton delayed the certification of Joe Biden's win in Georgia by refusing to validate the count results by a key deadline. The only county in Georgia that failed to certify its election results due to issues raised by Hampton at that time. So I'm trying to show you the conspiracy, how the conspiracy laid out. It's not that this one thing was the conspiracy that was the proof that the election was being tampered with by somebody. There's a lot of people across a lot of spheres from a lot of places. The only thing that ties them together is that they were all Republicans who were loyal to Republicans and to the McCarthy-type people that had control of the Republican Party and still have control of the Republican Party. It's that loyalty amongst them and their willingness to do things to enable Trump to retain power, because it enables their political faction to retain power. That's what was really going on. That's what's still going on. Hampton also posted a video online claiming to expose problems with the county's Dominion voting system. The video was used by Trump's lawyers, including Giuliani, as part of their push to convince legislators that multiple states, from multiple states, that there was evidence that the 2020 election results were tainted by voting system issues. Trump allies were seeking access to Coffee County voting systems of Coffee County's voting system by mid-December amid increasing demands for proof of widespread election fraud, which never has emerged. Coffee County was specifically cited in draft executive orders for seizing voting machines that were presented to Trump on December 18th during a chaotic Oval Office meeting that I referred to a little bit ago. Giuliani alluded to a plan to gain voluntary access to machines in Georgia. That's what this invitation stuff was all about. Mm-hmm. So hopefully you see from this, you know, the scheme, you know, that was underway. I want to get back into the discussion about Hunter Biden that I didn't finish up on some of this point. The important differences between Hunter Biden's case, and I think we got about 7 or 8 minutes, differences between Hunter Biden and his case and Trump's case. There are two important distinctions. First is that the former president, Donald Trump, has already been personally and criminally indicted now 4 times. 4 times. At the time that I wrote this, it was 3 times, but a week has gone by, so it's now 4 times. 4 times. Right? No other ex-president has even been tried once. Not a single ex-president has been tried even once. Wow. Trump is also facing accusations that far outweigh the accusations confronting Hunter Biden, including the alleged mishandling of national security documents that he hoarded at his resort home in Florida after leaving office. He's also effectively charged with the ultimate crime in a democracy, seeking to overturn the will of the voters in an election. I don't know what it takes. The momentiveness of this seems to be missing for a good half of the population of the United States. They just don't seem to get this. If you allow what Donald Trump did and his forces did to stand, you no longer have a majoritarian democracy. Now you can have what Hitler did. Once he amassed power and got a lot of people loyal to his, factions in Germany, then he used them to change the election rules in counties all across states in Germany, and had the election elect people like him to become county commissioners, become governors, become secretaries of state, or whatever they call them, in Germany, and then use that cabal to change the rules so that you didn't have a president anymore. You had a chancellor. Right.
And I do believe there's people out there that will like what happened with Adolf Hitler and the Nazis with the Jews happened to us. I do believe there's people out there that will.
And I said that in reverse. They went from having a president to having a chancellor. And the chancellor now is given powers that are almost like a dictator's power. And then within 2 or 3 years of doing that, he just got outright dictator powers. And you see what happened with, when you bit into that orange, you wound up with Nazism, as your life system, in Germany, which then turned into an attack on Poland and Serbia and Austria and Latvia and the Holocaust. 6 million Jewish people murdered. Another 8 million non-Jewish people murdered. I mean,
people don't talk about that. You just said something that I don't hear that much, but I know the Holocaust. A lot of Jewish people died. You said 6 million, but then
6 million, right?
You said 9 million.
But there were 14 million people were killed in the Holocaust.
Unbelievable.
So if 6 million were Jews, then the other 8 million were other people who were non-Jews.
Unbelievable.
So who were those other people? They were Romas. They were gypsies.
Wow.
They were handicapped people. They were homosexual people. They were disabled people. They were people that didn't go along with, the show when they conquered Germany and parts of France, and so on.
Wow.
That's who these people were. But because they were not like one single block, like the Jewish people were one single block. So you could put a lot of number on that. There's 6 million, Jewish people. But if it was the gypsies, it may have been 1 million gypsies. It may have been 200,000 handicapped people. You know what I mean? It wasn't the same big number as there was, so that's why I think that people have not focused that much on who are the other 8 million people. But the reality is 14 million people were murdered in these, smoke ovens and concentration camps and whatever. I mean, that's what Hitler did. Horrible. Okay. And, the record shows that Hitler ain't the only one who did stuff like this. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, when they had these, culture wars in China, when Mao Zedong's wife was, in charge of whatever she was in charge of, and they had this war on culture in China, they killed a whole bunch of people.
Wow.
I don't know if it was 14 million, but I think it was more than that. I think it was maybe 23 or 24 million people that were killed. And so
a lot of innocent people. That's what.
Well, probably all of these people were innocent people. Their crime was that they just didn't believe on what Mao Zedong believed on, right? In Hitler, the crime was you weren't whatever they considered to be a natural born German.
We got that happening here. You're not born, you're here. You got to be a conservative, of the privileged folks, which is white.
I mean, the reality is that you had a certain caste of people that were the center of the conquest of North America. The United States, of course, lives in North America. Canada had race problems too. They didn't have the same level of race problem that the mainland United States had, but they had their own race problem and still have their own race problems. But for the United States, you had this caste of people, they called themselves Puritans and Pilgrims and whatever they called themselves, but they became the nucleus of the people that conquered the United States. So if you conquered the United States, that meant that you conquered the people that were already in the physical landmass that became the United States. So those people became subject people. So the culture, the DNA of the governance of the colonies that then turned into the governance of the early 13 states of the United States, the DNA of that governance was one in which it was normal to have subject people, Chinese subject people, Native American or indigenous Americans, subject people, African people, subject people, Irish indentured servants, subject people. There were German indentured servants. How do you think it came about that we reached a stage where by the time we got to World War I, there were more Germans who lived in the United States than there were Germans who lived in Germany? Yeah, let that walk through your head for a second, right? So that's why the United States didn't react, quickly to World War I and World War II.
Right.
Because the people who were the protagonists in those wars, or the antagonists in those wars, were people that were kindred people to a large percentage of the U.S. population. So it was almost like you're going to war against your brothers, going to war against Germany and its related states.
Why do you think American then eventually got involved?
Well, because America's personality is still an English personality. And so when Germany began to threaten the physical landmass of England, it's difficult for the United States not to react negatively, to that.
Now you're hitting our territory. You're too big for your britches now.
That's mama and daddy. See, you all may have been our cousins, but England is mommy and daddy, right?
You messing with our kinfolk. We can't allow that to happen.
So, these are the relationship issues. It's important for us to understand these things because it helps us to have the right perspective in our minds about understanding the things that we see going on today. And I'm hoping that this has been helpful in our ability to analyze what's going on and what's confronting us with Donald Trump and his people right now. Thank you all for listening to us and supporting us. We look forward to talking to you all on Friday here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY. We'll see you all then. Don't forget Steps to Recovery from Cancer and Other Illnesses. Frankie Merriweather Library, 1324 Jefferson Avenue, August 24th, 2023, 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The number to register is 603-5979. That's 716-603-5979. See you all on Friday.
Be there, be square. Take care.